So I plan on doing my first video on aging theories, which will be on the cross-linking theory of aging tomorrow. But today I wanted to do a review of Dr. Robert C. Atkins, the person Robert C. Atkins, the creator of the famous or infamous Atkins diet. It depends on who you ask. I would say it's a famous diet. Some would say it's infamous. Also the creator of the age-defying diet, and also a very good integrative physician, an integrative cardiologist that utilized many diets, including allergy testing. During the Great Nutrition Debate, he explained that he gives all of his patients allergy tests, so none of his patients are actually on the same diet. But the thing is, he was at the cutting edge of certain things, like people that watch nutritionfacts.org, the channel nutritionfacts.org with Dr. Michael Greger. They'll notice that he talks about the science, and he talks about the health benefits of seeking out, if you read the How Not to Die book, seeking out vegetables and fruits and whatnot for the most, what Greger would call, the most phytonutrient bang for the calorie, but what Dr. Atkins would call the most phytonutrient bang for the carbohydrate. But of course, you're only really getting carbohydrates in vegetation usually. So primarily, it's important to understand that a carbohydrate is a calorie in that case usually. But Atkins was mentioning these things decades before Dr. Greger. And decades before many of these people. I think the only one that goes back as far as him, not even as far as him, but almost as far as him, that has a similar outlook is Dr. Furman. Okay, and people might find it surprising that I say Dr. Furman has a similar outlook. I truly believe that at the time of the Atkins diet revolution and the Atkins new diet revolution, Atkins was recommending what the science consistently said was the best diet. Our insights have changed as knowledge has grown. You have to understand, we didn't know about many of these things until maybe 5-10 years ago, some of them less. So the thing is, I do truly believe that Atkins recommended what was the best diet at the time that he was recommending it. Now, you also talk about, like, for example, some of the diets that I think are more or less a ripoff of the Atkins diet are, of course, the South Beach diet, and there's a couple other ones that are a direct ripoff of the Atkins diet, but the Atkins diet is not necessarily the Atkins diet. Some of the important things I learned from Dr. Atkins, a lot of bodybuilders and athletic people like to say fats and carbohydrates are interchangeable because they're both energy sources. Fat, you should eat in my opinion, in my personal opinion, and let me remind you, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not a nurse, I'm not, anything special. I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian or anything like that, so this is not medical advice. Atkins didn't reduce fat. He didn't believe in a reduced fat diet for most people. I believe you should have a relatively low-fat diet, maybe 15 to 25% of your diet, at the most 30% of your diet, or 33% of your diet should come from fat. However, it is highly incorrect to state that fats and carbohydrates are interchangeable. And the reasoning why is because, yes, fat is an energy source, but it is not the first energy source. Carbohydrate is the first energy source, number one. Okay, that's why carbohydrate has a protein-sparing effect, even more so than fat. But also, fat is a structural. It has structural purposes, the creation of cell membranes and hormones and things of that nature. And that's why you need to concentrate on the correct fats, such as monounsaturated fat. and the essential fats such as the ALA, the plant-based omega-3 fats, and DHA. You want to make sure, although DHA, the necessity for DHA is up in the air. It seems more like ALA is perfectly fine. But the thing is, these are the insights that I got because I looked into what Atkins was saying, not what other people were saying. When I went vegan, I started looking up veganism, and eventually I found Dr. Greger. And I'm not saying Dr. Greger is bad or good or whatever. I think that I was very intrigued by Dr. Greger because he seems to only look at the science. But he doesn't necessarily only look at the science. It seems like in some ways he's pushing an agenda. And it's not a vegan agenda. This is the thing. Vegans, for some reason, have adopted this high carbohydrate outlook. Now, in Dr. Greger's defense, he doesn't seem to necessarily only push a high carbohydrate agenda, although that is the way his shows, his little videos go a lot of times, is he does not explain the danger of a high carbohydrate diet. He avoids, like Dr. McDougall and others in the vegan community, and Dr. Neil Bernard, they omit the dangers of a high starch diet, of a high carbohydrate diet. And I'm going to get into what these dangers are when I talk about the cross-linking theory of aging. And I'm probably going to talk about metabolic syndrome. And I'm probably going to talk about diabetes when I do that video, because they're all interconnected. And that's the danger of the vegan cult. Now, the thing is with veganism, you can have a vegan diet that is perfectly healthy and perfectly balanced, that is not high in starch. It can have starch, but it doesn't have to be ultimately super high in starch. I eat sweet potatoes a couple times a week, and I'm still following a low carbohydrate diet because it has to do with the glycemic load, not the glycemic index. And that's what people don't understand is, yes, you are on a whole foods diet, you're going to be eating things that are lower on the glycemic index. But the glycemic load, meaning the total amount of carbohydrates in your diet, is going to be relatively lower than it would be if you were eating just, crazy amounts of what have you. But like I found out following a whole foods plant-based diet that was starch-centered, is you can get quite fat and you can get quite unhealthy following a high carbohydrate whole food diet. Now, and this goes against, and like I said, this went against my intuition, because what I knew, I'm a firm disbeliever in organic fruits and vegetables. I don't believe in organic anything. I think it's bullcrap. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence to show that organic foods are harmful to your health due to the potential for viral infections and organic contaminants in slaughterhouse waste and other things that are put on those crops that could get you sick, such as salmonella, E. coli, etc. And that's in the organic crops, not the synthetically fertilized crops. Of course, all food is organic, at least now, until we start synthesizing meat and not having to kill animals. But at the current time, if it comes from a plant or it comes from an animal, it's organic technically. But the thing is, what we mean here is that synthetic fertilizer is things like pure nitrogen and things of that nature. Also, crushed minerals and things like that are used in both organic and normal traditional farming, I guess is what they call it. My point is that my insight that I gained in my teenage years on how to lose weight and how to be healthy, and that kept me healthy and kept me strong, was from Dr. Atkins and other people like Dr. Atkins, like Adele Davis. It was not from the vegan community. And that's the thing, is I think that the vegan community is, unfortunately, because Dr. Atkins pushed a, quote, high meat diet, which is not true. He pushed a low carbohydrate diet, and you can eat a vegetarian version of the Atkins diet. I think he even said that back in his original book. It's just difficult. Okay? It's not that difficult to follow like you don't have to go as low carb as the Atkins diet does initially in the 2 weeks to lose weight. You do that to lose a lot of weight really quick, which gives a positive psychological supercharging to the person, which encourages them to lose more weight. But you do not need to lower carbohydrates as low. You do, and that's why I suggested when I was doing a weight loss group, I suggested people look more to the zone diet on carbohydrate recommendations. And the other positive about the zone diet is the zone diet does take into consideration that calories matter. The Atkins diet does not necessarily take into consideration that calories matter. Calories do matter. They just might not matter as much as people are trying to sell you. And also, a calorie is not a calorie. Different calorie sources affect you differently. And that's where carbohydrate comes in. Carbohydrate can, and this is the thing, too much of anything is bad. Water, obviously, people die of water toxicity. And I'm not saying don't drink water. Please understand that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is water toxicity is pretty common. And too much, and that's too much of water. Too much carbohydrate in the blood, that starts leading to premature aging. It starts leading to metabolic syndrome. It starts leading to many issues. And that's the problem. So this is not me renouncing veganism, but it is me speaking to the insights that Dr. Atkins gave me into a holistic approach to my health, which I'm taking that. I'm re-implementing the same insights that Atkins and others like Atkins, like Nicholas Perricone, Dr. Sears, others that promoted similar lifestyles. But Atkins was the one that promoted the true integrative approach to health that mixed, herbalism and nutrients and diet and exercise. All of that was combined. Chelation therapy or chelation, however the hell you say it, to get the plaques out of the arteries and things of that nature. He was a truly integrative, holistic doctor, and he promoted that in his practice and in his books and things of that nature, and people don't grasp that. They somehow only think that Atkins was the Atkins diet, and that's not the case. It truly is not the case. And that's basically what this video is about. And I think that if more vegans took into consideration the harm they're doing with low protein, low fat diets, they would stop looking weak and frail. And that was my problem, as I started becoming weak and frail. See, that's the thing, is when I went vegan, I never understood what people were talking about with the veganism, because I was still powerful, I was still well built, I was still mentally clear and what have you. And a lot of people are like, I went vegan and got very sick. And I couldn't understand it because I was fine. Well, the reason why is because a lot of the vegan diets that people are considering health promoting, these high starch, low fat diets, are the opposite of health promoting. And it took me being seduced by the claims of Dr. McDougall to realize how badly these diets work, and that they don't work, and that they're counterintuitive. Well, I know they're counterintuitive. That's what drew me to it, is I wanted to see if it would work. But they don't work. They're not healthy. And I strongly encourage people to consider eating more balanced diets. And that's all for this video.